Oh,
No worries.
I like mine with extra sauce on it. When you think Seattle, you probably picture fish markets and coffee shops. But look a little closer, and you'll find the Emerald City's true signature dish, teriyaki.
Teriyaki is something that people take for granted, but it's so ingrained in the community.
Teriyaki chicken is not something that exists in Japan. This is like a purely Japanese-American invention that comes from Seattle.
There is a teriyaki shop in every neighborhood in practically this whole state.
I set out on a teriyaki trek to learn as much as I could about the city's sweet and savory signature dish. And what better place to begin than with the man who started it all. We are on our way to Toshi's Teriyaki Grill. We're gonna meet the titan of teriyaki himself, Toshi Kasahara. He's been making teriyaki in Seattle for over 45 years, and by all accounts, it's some of the best teriyaki to be found anywhere in the city. Toshi arrived in Seattle in 1976 with a business degree and a plan to change the city's understanding of what teriyaki should be.
When I started, I was the first one to specializing in teriyaki chicken. It's an everyday meal and something tasty and a reasonable price.
Seattle food writer Tan Vin was kind enough to join us and fill us in on the importance this simple dish has to the city.
When Toshi opened in 1976, it was easier to find a speakeasy in the East Village than his space. But then 2 months later, the Seattle Times critic came into his shop. And in a way, it changed journalism. Back then, in the 70s, newspapers did not cover, quote, Oriental restaurants. But when the critic reviewed this, it just blew up. And then overnight, literally, there were lines for weeks.
And Toshi's teriyaki recipe and technique have remained consistent for over 4 decades.
I don't really complicate my sauce. I think mine is balanced, enough sweetness, also salty. This is teriyaki sauce.
Though the main ingredients are soy sauce and sugar, Toshi keeps the particulars about his famed sauce a secret, though he wasn't shy about letting us know how we could replicate it at home.
By the way, we do sell sauce online, commercial.
Yeah, got a little plug there. That's good. He blends the teriyaki sauce with garlic and ginger and pours it over the chicken. Then it's placed in the refrigerator to marinate.
Suggest at least 3 hours. A lot of times I marinate night before.
After the long soak, the chicken is ready for the grill.
It takes about 10 minutes. When I was growing up, I spent a lot of time with my grandma in the kitchen. And I think I had a very similar recipe for my own. It tasted pretty good, I think. Maybe I was hungry.
The chicken is sliced, piled high over steamed rice, and served with Toshi's signature sauce.
This is our chicken teriyaki.
Bryan, I haven't eaten this yet. I can tell you, this is textbook perfect. The charred outside, it's still juicy on the inside. Yeah.
And you know what I like too is like the little bits of fat that remain on there and get crispy. They also add a little bit of smokiness to it because they char up nicely on the grill. Those are my favorite bits here.
Yeah.
So this sauce is much thinner than a lot of the other sauces that I've seen in some of the other teriyaki
Exactly.
joints.
And I can tell you, so some of the inferior teriyakis I've had, it's actually hard to even pour it. It's so thick. It's like
really?
honey.
So this, the sauce does come across as sweet at first, but then it's got a nice balance of saltiness and then umami kicking in from the soy.
And that's that smokiness, right? That's just perfect. That balances that sugar. This is great. I can eat this all in one sitting.
Yeah.
And the reason why it's so popular is just a huge portion. Like back when they opened in 1976, this is $1.85. The math worked out because rice doesn't cost a lot, and you use chicken thigh. Because back in the 70s and 80s, Americans don't eat chicken thigh.
Right.
But a lot of Toshi and a lot of Asian restaurants, they realized, hey, what is the cheapest cut of chicken? And the answer is thigh meat.
Well, also the thigh meat is so much more resilient when it hits the grill. I mean, you can overcook it and it just stays juicy and tender.
Oh, this is delicious, right?
With simple ingredients and techniques that create complex and delicious flavors, it's no wonder why, after 45 years in business, customers keep coming back.
I am happy as long as customers are happy. That's the reason I have been in the business for so long. That makes me feel good.
Having sampled the original, our next stop is one of Seattle's newest additions to the teriyaki stage.
So Grillbird is a Seattle teriyaki shop at its core, but we're doing some things a little differently. One foot is in kind of Hawaiian plate lunch and the other is in traditional Seattle chicken teriyaki. I don't want to mess with a good thing. Let's keep it to its essentials, which is mounds of chicken over rice for a really good price.
Lucky for us, Matt was less secretive about his sauce and was kind enough to show us how it all came together.
All right, we're gonna start with a little tamari. We're gonna add a little pineapple juice, get that sugar going, a little bit of rice wine vinegar, a little bit of mirin. We're gonna finish off with a little bit of ginger and garlic. And then we're gonna add a little bit of sesame oil to kind of round out those flavors. So we're just gonna cook this down for about 10, 15 minutes till it kind of reduces by about 25%. It will thicken up, and then as it cools, it gets to that perfect consistency where it's not too thin, not too thick, it's just sticky enough. So I'm just gonna strain it out so we don't have all those garlic and ginger pieces getting stuck in our squeeze bottles. And there you go.
With the sauce prepared, it was time to make the chicken.
We always start with brining our chicken overnight. And then from there, it gets put in our CVAP. The CVAP is a special oven that controls humidity, almost like a bagless sous vide. So this machine ensures that we can have a great, consistent, juicy, cooked through product. This is gonna hit about 155, and we'll bring the rest up on the grill. All right, from here, we're just gonna throw it on this grill right here. We're just gonna start giving it a little paint. We'll add more sauce as we go, multiple steps along the way. So that's good. I'm feeling that. Add a little bit of extra sauce to it, and this is chicken teriyaki.
Joining Tanami at Grillbird was cookbook author, food tuber, and my dear friend Kenji Lopez-Alt. Kenji and I worked together at Cooks Illustrated back in the old days when we were both young bucks making our way in food writing and recipe development. So I was excited to share a meal with an old colleague. All right, so like right off the bat, Kenji's got food all over his face. What I'm tasting here is more sweetness up front in the teriyaki sauce.
Yeah.
Right.
With that tropical flavor. And that's not coincidence, right? Because we know that this is a Hawaiian influence. There's no soy sauce in there. That's what makes this more unusual than the other teriyaki place.
Similar flavor, like the flavor profile
Yes.
of tamari is pretty similar to, because of the way they cook and hold their chicken. I think it's always consistently juicy. You know, it's a different experience because like at some of the other teriyaki places, there's a trade-off where you get a little maybe more smokiness, but drier meat. Whereas here, it's like the meat is like consistently juicy, and you get plenty of smoke flavor, but it's a different kind of smoke flavor than you get, or a grill flavor than you get from some of the more classic places, I think.
With Kenji being fairly new to the city, and Tan having lived here for years, I was interested to get both their takes on where teriyaki stands today.
Well, Kenji, you've been here for a few years now in Seattle. What have you noticed about chicken teriyaki as you've eaten around?
You know, as a New Yorker, it actually, to me, reflects the New York pizza scene in a lot of ways, where, you know, when you ask people, like, what's your favorite, what's the best teriyaki joint, like, 9 out of 10 times they're gonna say like the one that's closest to them.
Right.
You know, it's like getting a slice of New York pizza. It's just like consistently good and like good cheap food that is filling and you know, sort of unique to the city. But I think also like the New York pizza scene, you find places like this that are doing sort of new stuff, that are taking new techniques. Like here they've got like steam ovens, like combi ovens. They've got 1600 degree burners. Like they're doing stuff that the typical teriyaki joint that you would have seen here 20 years ago is not, you know, aren't doing. Yeah. But I think it's interesting because I love both styles, right? Like I love the old places. I love what they're doing here. I think it's great that you know, people are taking something classic and kind of innovating on it, especially because like teriyaki in itself is just like is exactly that, right? It's just this really unique thing that is an evolution of something that was classic, and now there's people who are taking something that was that evolution that became a classic and now doing new stuff with it as well, and of course like pulling from Hawaiian culture as well.
So have you guys seen teriyaki continue to evolve over the years? I mean, you've only been here for a few years, but you've been here for 20 years.
That's a time question.
I would say that you don't see lines out the door anymore during the lunch rush as you would in the 90s for teriyaki shops. And that's just because there's just a lot of competition now. And that has really hurt, I think, the teriyaki joints because they can't raise their prices. There was a local teriyaki joint that raised it by $1. People lost their minds.
Really?
Oh my God, it's not. And meanwhile, you have pasta places and burgers that raise $3 or $5, and they don't get the heat as other people do. And I think that's part of like racism, or just like this stereotype that Asian food has to be cheap.
Asian food and Mexican food, they think they have like some connection to cheaper ingredients, or like they don't have to be paid as much to live. Right?
Exactly, and I think teriyaki spots have really been hurt by this.
The story of Seattle teriyaki has ups and downs and twists and turns, and perhaps no family knows that better than the one behind Tojoia. Although rooted in traditional teriyaki, Tojoia spices up its menu with Brazilian influences.
Well, first of all, Tojoia kind of is slang in Portuguese for everything's good, Tojoia. But in Korean, Tajoa also means everything's good.
Tojoia is owned and operated by the Lee family. The eldest daughter, Vivian, runs the front of the house, and her mother, Yumi, is the head chef.
My teriyaki is different because we spicy chicken is we marinate spicy. Then I just marinate one by one like this.
Although Tojoia opened in 2021, the family's roots in the teriyaki business go back nearly 20 years.
We were just right across the street here doing a little traditional teriyaki restaurant for about 20 years, and the building was going to be demolished and turned into a gas station. So we got a letter from a landlord saying we have about 30 days to evacuate. Our family kind of lost everything.
Devastating, it was, oh my God, what are we gonna do? Because I'm 60 years old, I'm time to retire,
Yeah, there was this anger and this hurt when we got it taken away from us, but then we're like, we're gonna fight back, we're gonna figure out a way to survive. It was either that or my dad was gonna be an Uber driver or my mom was gonna work for another Korean restaurant, which didn't feel right. Like, there's just no way she could work with all this food and flavors and everything. There's just no way I was gonna let her work for anyone else. So just, I think naturally being the oldest daughter was like, let's do it.
Let's fight for it.
Yeah, let's fight for it.
Are you enjoying working with your daughters?
No. But they are happy. They are very proud because my daughter, big one, she did everything. So she proud by herself, She make the good business.
Having immigrated to Brazil before arriving in the U.S., Yumi used her time cooking in South America as inspiration for Tojoia's eclectic menu.
When we came to this plaza and we told the landlord we want to do teriyaki, they were like, no, we want something a little bit more upscale. So the inspiration was survival. It wasn't like my family, we were like, yeah, let's invent something new and pioneer this new way to eat teriyaki. It was just hiding a teriyaki menu and incorporating food that we ate at home but never made sense to sell at a traditional teriyaki restaurant. Her family lived in Seoul and they immigrated to Sao Paulo, so they lived in Brazil. So she just has this kind of flair to her.
She's adopted all these cuisines. She's got Korean cuisine and other places where she's lived, and she's just kind of...
Korean cuisine, and when we were in New York, she went to school for sushi.
Really?
Yeah, so this place, on our menu, it says our mom's story in a bowl, because it's just everything about her.
I keep going this business because I think it's fun.
Yeah, that's so great.
It's everybody work, but this is the best work because you have to serve the people good food. This make people happy. I think that's why I'm doing it.
Tan and I placed our orders and sat down for our final feast.
Oh, I want a char bit.
Yeah, that's delicious.
This is some of the spiciest teriyaki I've had in Seattle area. It's great.
It's really good though. I mean, the first bite, when it first hits your mouth, it's just like a burst of flavor. It's almost like a mesquite barbecue style flavor. And then as you chew it, start to swallow it, the heat builds in the back of the throat.
That's genius.
Yeah.
This is, I would say, the most unusual teriyaki I've had.
But I'd say it's some of the best we've had this week.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, there's so much here and so much about the menu that it's really thoughtful. And, you can tell it's not only influenced from their own Korean culture, the time they spent in Brazil, but it's also like what Seattle is all about, it seems, It's a mix of cultures all over the place, and that's reflected on their menu.
Because everyone has their own spin, their own take, their own culture, has their own story that they implement to this.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it seems like Seattle welcomes that kind of their own, everybody's impression of it.
Yeah. And it's, a lot of these teriyaki places are run by mom and pop, and a lot of times the problem is that once the kids grow up, they do not take over the teriyaki shops. And we talk so much about the death of teriyaki or how there's so much competition in teriyaki. Right. But the other reality is the kids don't want to take over these shops. This is an unusual spot in the sense that the kids want to run the restaurants. They've taken over. They put their own touches. Yeah. You can tell by the decor, the music, that this is run by a younger generation. And if teriyaki is to survive, you need places like this, run by a younger generation who get a sense of what's going on.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is like a ton of life, a ton of creativity on the plate. It's really
Seems like a special place.
Teriyaki is deeply rooted in Seattle. It reflects the city's rich history and the marriage of international flavors with local tastes.
It's in the culture. It's built communities. It's what people feed their children, and then later their children grow up and come back to eat here too. So it's kind of a lot. It's comfort, it's community, it's, yeah, everything.
I want to thank Tan and Kenji for joining us this week, and I especially want to thank all the folks who fed us plate after plate of delicious teriyaki. If you like what you saw, hit that like and subscribe button, and let us know down in the comments section where we can find your favorite teriyaki.